Go ahead and pull up a map of the world. Take a good, long look at it. All those crisp blue coastlines, the neatly labeled mountain ranges, and the GPS coordinates that can find a taco truck on a side street at midnight from orbit. We've convinced ourselves that Earth is a finished puzzle, a conquered rock where the only thing left to discover is which suburban strip mall is getting a Spirit Halloween next. We've sent rovers to poke around the dusty plains of Mars and launched satellites into the cold, silent void of the cosmos. Yet we have the absolute audacity to pretend we've finished the home game. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The Earth is not a completed map. It's a series of locked doors that actively resist us. We like to think we're the masters of this domain, but there are corners of this planet that treat human curiosity like a minor structural inconvenience. It's a fascinating, slightly insulting reality. Because while we've named the mountains and charted the coastlines, the truth is, there are still places on Earth that remain stubbornly, hauntingly unknown. Welcome to the Waxenvein Ledger. Today, we're going to explore the places humans still can't fully reach, not for lack of trying, but because the Earth, in its own quiet way, said no. And where better to begin than a vertical death trap filled with freezing black water? Let's start in the Czech Republic, specifically to a jagged little opening in the Earth called the Rahnita Abyss. It's the deepest known flooded freshwater cave on the planet. We've measured it at around 519 meters. And to be clear, that's not the cave's full depth. That's just how far we've managed to go before the tech gave up. Here's how the exploration usually works. Human divers descend as far as their suits and their sanity will allow, then they pass the baton to a robot that immediately regrets being invented. The latest remote mission stopped not because the cave ended, but because the robot's cable ran out. Imagine peering into a vertical tunnel of absolute black, knowing it continues but having no idea how far or into what. Why can't we just keep going? 2 words: flooded pressure. The abyss is full of freezing, narrow passages and deep enough that water pressure can crush a human like a soda can. Even our best equipment struggles to survive more than a few hours down there. Not because no one's curious, because the cave simply doesn't let us in. If that feels a little too claustrophobic, maybe you'd prefer your existential dread with a bit more elbow room. In that case, let's talk about the ocean, specifically the Mariana Trench. It's the deepest point in any ocean, deep enough that if you dropped Mount Everest into it, the summit would still be over a mile underwater. So surely we've explored it, right? We've got submersibles, sonar, deep-sea documentaries narrated by soothing British men. Well, kind of. We've visited, briefly, we've poked, we've prodded, but over 80% of the ocean floor remains unmapped at high resolution. The trench itself? A layered abyss of pressure and silence, hiding things we're not ready to find. Why haven't we mapped all of it? Because it's buried under literal tons of water. The pressure at the bottom is over 1,000 times what you feel at sea level, making it incredibly difficult to send equipment down, let alone have it work once it gets there. And the trench is huge. It spans 2,550 kilometers. Even if you could reach the bottom, good luck mapping the whole thing before you run out of money and oxygen. So far, we've managed a few expeditions, some manned, some not, and while we've glimpsed life, sediment, and maybe the outlines of our collective fear response, the truth is simple. We still don't really know what's at the bottom of our own planet. And if you're tired of the crushing weight of the ocean, we can switch gears and talk about something solid. Or should I say, frozen solid. Next stop, Lake Vostok, Antarctica's best-kept secret, buried beneath 2.5 miles of ice. It's been sealed off from the rest of the world for at least 15 million years. Think about that. While our ancestors were figuring out how to walk upright without falling over, Lake Vostok was sitting in absolute darkness, completely oblivious to the Ice Age, the Industrial Revolution, or TikTok. We know it's there because of radar, but reaching it is a diplomatic and scientific headache of epic proportions. You can't just drill a hole and drop a bucket. The risk of contaminating a prehistoric ecosystem with our bacteria or jet fuel is way too high. And the few samples we've pulled from the ice just above the lake, full of organisms that don't look like anything else on the family tree, it's a ghost world, hidden in plain sight, protected by a fortress of ice that requires millions of dollars, international approval, and just a little bit of a death wish to penetrate. We are staring at a liquid alien planet buried under our feet, and still, we're mostly looking at it through a keyhole. But distance and depth aren't the only ways Earth hides its secrets. Sometimes it just uses a very thick blanket of life. The Amazon rainforest is not some forgotten corner of the map. We've all heard of it. But massive portions of the western Amazon basin, especially near the Brazil-Colombia border, remain functionally unmapped. The canopy is so dense it acts like nature's privacy screen. Satellite imaging? Basically useless. You can't just walk into the Amazon and start mapping. Ground access is grueling. Terrain shifts with the weather. Dangerous animals, impassable rivers, and isolated regions make the area wildly unpredictable. And to make it even better, much of what we have found, we weren't even looking for. Ancient roads, cities, and structures are still being uncovered using LiDAR, a type of laser scanning that works through the canopy. It's revealing entire civilizations we had no idea existed. Every year we find a new species or a new ruin. It's a reminder that we aren't the ones in charge of the narrative. Nature is. And it's not just nature doing the hiding. Sometimes we're the ones who build the mysteries and then forget we ever did it. Take Derinkuyu, Turkey, a multi-level underground city carved directly into volcanic rock, capable of housing 20,000 people, complete with ventilation shafts, chapels, oil presses, and stables. And we lost it. Until the 1960s, when a guy knocked down a wall in his basement and found a whole other world. We still don't fully understand how big it is. Some areas are too unstable to explore. Some are blocked off entirely. We're not even sure who built it or why. It's a monument to human effort that somehow became invisible. If we can forget an entire city we carved into the ground, what else have we missed? When you step back and look at all these places, the flooded abysses, the crushing trenches, the buried lakes, and the suffocating jungles, you start to notice a pattern. Mapping isn't about high-resolution cameras or a fast internet connection. Mapping requires three things: access, survivability, and time. And most of Earth denies us at least two of those. The tech we rely on? Brilliant, but fragile. A snapped cable, a failed seal, a broken drill bit, and suddenly we're back at square one, staring at a blank spot on the map with our hands in our pockets. We've mistaken knowing something exists for understanding it, and Earth is more than happy to let us keep making that mistake. The reality is that we live on a planet that is fundamentally indifferent to our desire for data. We want to catalog every rock and measure every trench because we think that if we name everything, we own it. But the Earth is not a library, and it's certainly not our property. It's a living, shifting, hostile organism that has been here long before we arrived and will likely be here long after we finished our little mapping project. There is a certain kind of beautiful, terrifying comfort in knowing that there are places where no human foot has ever stepped and no camera has ever flickered to life. It's a reminder that we are small and that mystery is a permanent feature of our existence, not a bug to be patched out. Some parts of this world aren't just unmapped. They are unmappable by design. They refuse to be known, and honestly, that's probably for the best. If you've enjoyed this little descent into the places where your GPS goes to die, maybe you should stick around. We're always looking for the next locked door to rattle. You can keep up with our explorations by hitting that subscribe button. You know the one. It's much easier to find than Lake Vostok. Stay curious, stay skeptical, And maybe don't go knocking down any walls in your basement unless you're prepared to find a city underneath.